team. It's Sims and Pansy, the guys with the big irons on their hip. Let's bring us Miramar.
We found out so much about James prior to the show, which we will dive into. Don't worry. You guys at home, you will know exactly what we know. But for now, we have to look at the game. Sadly, of course. East to west, my eyes now turn to a couple of teams, I think, Rich. One of them being Liquid, just because they've kind of quietly got themselves into third spot, which I think is kind of accountable to Tornado Energy having a little bit of a dip yesterday, opened up the space, capitalized on, Liquid move up there. I'm looking at Northern Lights and DA as well, but that's just kind of the race to the top. If any of them have, exceedingly good performances or maybe a dip, I'll take note. And I want to look towards Na'Vi as well. That LAN environment, I really want to see if that keeps having some form of effect.
Well, Na'Vi had a bit of a creep on the leaderboards yesterday. They started to step it up when it mattered most. I still don't see a win from them just yet, but this is, we've still got 3 days left. I say that, and there's only 4 games a day, right? It is very minimalistic to how much you need to put on it. No, it's not at all, and that's why you can't rely on next weekend, for example. If we're talking about teams that really got to show up today, I'm sorry, but we just can't avoid the topic. Faze is in recovery mode. We're now into a point where someone like the Northern Lights, for example, all the way up at the top, it's been fantastic. It's a beautiful run. We've seen them when the chips are down, and we've seen them do bad, and it's when they start off bad. They have this unfortunate whirlwind effect where they just fall down into a very low position, and then they stay there. Now they're up in the top ends. Now they're at the top of the table. Their game style and their gameplay will come into absolutely the best possible position because all they have to do is sit back and watch all the rest of the lobby delete each other. It's as simple as that, and they could just sit on the outskirts. They can play their game. They can go off and wait for the hard shifts. They can just obscure themselves out of the fights and let everybody else scramble, then turn up at the end, clean up what's left over, and get a good placement. You look at teams like Faze Clan, it's the complete polar opposite end of the spectrum. They are going to have to go 1,000 miles an hour. There's no real taking your foot off the gas here. You need frags, you need placement. We've seen Na'Vi in the past get 4 wins in a day. Now, it's much easier said than done. That is a very tough challenge to achieve. They're not out of the woods just yet, but if they have a terrible day today, I'm sorry, Faze are not winning this.
Honestly, I don't think they're winning this flat out. I think for me, it's just for pride's sake and reputation's sake. I hate that I feel I have to describe this to people, but there's a reason, again, that we hold certain teams to a higher standard, and it's mostly because of their previous achievements, their accolades. So it's like when we discuss the likes of Faze, we sit there and go, right, so their average is pretty high. They're normally, if not winning tournaments, top 3, top 5, even, big international events. Some of arguably the best players. Uber, of course, one of them. The guy is notorious with success himself. Now, again, Fuzzface, pillar of the community. These guys have made quite the name for themselves. So when we don't see that come through, it definitely garners our attention. And of course, you have that infamous Faze Sunday. It's there for a reason, but I think the point gap at the moment is too substantial. I don't see them closing the gap. I've had to, eat my words before, but I simply don't see it happening. I think we're getting that, I don't want to say clash of errors almost, because roll your mind back, it would be, your Liquid and your Faze doing very well, mostly towards the top. And then we had that CIS kind of resurgence. You had your Na'Vi domination, you had your Northern Lights domination era. Now we're kind of getting the two clashing, I'd say. And maybe a little bit more, obviously, towards the CIS region, because Tornado Energy's doing well. Maybe not their, ferocious self, not when they're, mopping up the lobby completely, but they're top 4. They're looking quite good, apart from the previous day where it looked a little bit weaker. CFX gets some damage, don't worry, I am noting it. ETG on the move, not sure if he wants to go for it, he might just want to be a little quiet about this, outnumbered, of course. And as I said, with Northern Lights sitting there at the top place, and they fell off a little bit recently. They, in the last couple of events, we're like, okay, they seem to have been worked out, but they've maybe kind of, I don't know, reconsidered how they want to approach it, reinvented themselves, because they've come back out and they've looked great again.
Well, that's the thing. We're looking at a point where we've essentially traded places. We look back to PCS2, we've got 10th and 11th, respectively, for Northern Lights, and, Tornado Energy and Northern Lights, with Faze Clan winning the whole thing. And now all of a sudden they're down in 13th, and there's been this resurgence of, again, I think it's playstyle. I think that they're these type of teams that are very, very start of the competition. If they go down, their mental fortitude just isn't enough to bring them back up. I don't know if it's an IGL issue, I don't know if it's just confidence, but they struggle to get back up But then you look at them
Right.
when they start off well, they just sit back, relax, everything's going fine. They can just do their own thing and play their own game. Now they have all the points in the
Yeah.
bag. They can afford to have a bad day. They can afford to have those 16th placements because they have the booster of the 118 points, where everyone else is kind of below them. The one team that I think before all the action is going to kick off, we do have a kill in the feed already. We can just be able to see that one on Bart's
Just
POV.
rotation. I assume
BTG,
Fex
yeah.
probably relayed that, so yeah, makes sense.
Oh. But the one team that is doing phenomenal in all of this, and we have to just call it as it is, it's DA. This
Correct.
roster is looking phenomenal. When, if memory serves me right, they didn't even qualify for PCS2, and now they're in second spot.
And I love watching DA do this. I like to see a team that doesn't just coast. The amount of teams who go, oh, they've got so much potential. Oh, look at this player. Oh, you know, or if this, and this happens, wow, that could be great. And then it never really comes through. They kind of coast out. They, you know, they fall off, and they never really capitalize on that potential. Someone who is, though, is the Sauna Boys. We discussed what does that confidence do to them after yesterday's games. And well, they've just found probably one of the better IGLs in the game right now. They've knocked him, not flushed, but it seems quite likely. So we'll see how Northern Lights now proceed, as they will be losing out on the captain himself. There is something to be said about then him being able to view his teammates kind of call from the back lines, but you'd love to have the additional man. ETG going to hide the cars as best they can, lock them up in the garage, and maybe proceed to claim their spot. But yes, I'd love to spend a bit more time discussing DA and evaluating what's really worked, and I love the addition of Code Marco. I think that is one of the best pickups, and once I hope he doesn't just fulfill an average role. I want to see him become the firepower on this roster. And more teams now being caught in transition as well. Like, you know, we're seeing Northern Lights struggling. Shift W just got a couple of shots shot at them from Perfectix, of course, from Northern Lights. Love to hear the comms as well for Northern Lights at the start there. Those videos, brilliant as ever. But Northern Lights, they're a team, it's hard to not want to see them do well. They play a great game. Right now, that's not a great start though. This I felt like there was an overcommitment to try and get Batulins potentially, and there was no information that the Sauna Boys had fallen off this, so it looks like a bit of a poor decision-making moment there for them.
Yeah, for me, you should have just left him up on a hillside like that with players lurking. Like, there's no way of getting him back. You've just wasted a second play here and instantly lost 50% of your team. But again, with Northern Lights, maybe it's a bit of overconfidence. Maybe it's definitely an overcall. They can afford to have that one game. Not many more, because instantly, if DA win this, that they're back.
DA's there.
Might even potentially even overtake them. So that's it. That's your one game today, boys. Unless you get a booster pack of points at the end of it, then fair play, whatever. Northern Lights will carry on with 2. They'll get themselves positioned. As we look at this circle on the map as such, if you were to unfold it as a map, if you're a miner, you were looking for somewhere to go, X marks the spot, smack bang over Montana, wherever. But which side of it do you want to be? Do you want to be the northern side or the southern side? Everyone else is generally just kind of orbiting and magnetizing towards that central area. Faze Clan in there, starting around. We wouldn't expect any less. Northern Lights could have... There is this small potential that we do get the power grid shift. Don't get me wrong, if it does come this way and it does go towards the eastern side, then a team may get lucky, and maybe that's why we see Shift W in a 2-2, quite wider split, more towards WS's northern side, outside San Martin, excuse me, and then further down on the southern side of Power Grid. So they are lurking, they are looking for this potential hard shift. But at the moment, it's all eyes on the middle. It's all eyes on the prize. When the circle updates, we'll kind of know which way we're going. If it still bunkers around the middle, you are going to have to find yourself some sort of compound, some sort of transitional area of which you can take up on the hard shift if it is rather unfavorable to you. It's gone more towards the northern side, and this is where we start to look at ETG's position, Tornado Energy's position. Now, look at Tornado Energy, 2-1-1 split. The question is, can 2 players hold that barn that they've taken residence in? That is a fantastic and phenomenal place to be in now. If they can get the 2 players back to it and hold on to it, then great. And also if the other 2 players can actually make it there in rotation. That right now is a prime spot. It's good for the road. It keeps people back. It's hard to penetrate from the field side just because it's so open. The hangar does have its downsides, but there's certainly a couple of buildings in there which give you good hard cover. Sauna Boys will overwatch this and overlook. Maybe they've not committed to it simply because they know there's a team in there. Information is key, and if you have the ridges around El Pozo and surrounding areas from the Sauna Boys to WS, there is also a place to sneak in just above ETG. That little dip that maybe the Sauna Boys are going to keep eyes on. The 2-2 wide split overlooking all of the field could be crucial here, but should a team crash into them as a 4-man stack, it's going to be incredibly hard to hold.
Oh, Liquid, this has all been seen. If they pull up anywhere near here, Chris is going to bloody destroy them. He's seeing all of this perfectly fine. He's considering it. And a couple of shots already start coming through. I think that was from Zocker, not Chris, anyway. And Liquid are going to carry on forward. These guys are on the east. This is nearish towards, I guess, what, power grid side? So they're opting for the eastern approach. Faze, now this is interesting. A 2-2 split at this point. Now they've kept the north side of Monte Nuevo. And then you've got 8C splitting off, I think, with Uber. Yeah, it is, in towards these small houses. Now, of course, their compound, made notorious by the amount of circles that used to close towards it, and their positioning on it is currently held by ETG, as you highlighted. So maybe they're getting themselves ready for, if it does close this way, we know this is another good fallback compound. If it goes more Montuevo, we have Fuzzface and Gustav over there ourselves. Na'Vi, quiet building on the west, perfectly handling themselves. I do want to look towards maybe that north side a little more, as Liquid could be in a spot of bother depending on how they want to come into this. Obviously El Pozo could house them, but there's a couple of guards watching their entry. Kemba one, Offstring a little bit further north, maybe more considering the bystanders potentially. And DA, we were looking at them and wanted to know how they were going to do. They've shuffled up a little bit. They were closer towards the edge of the current circle. They've moved in towards the crossroads, just on the south portion of it. Maybe hoping for a late game close in towards that Faze compound that would keep them in there. Hey, Mexi, drive nicely. Clib, you want to keep him safe, all right? Keep him sweet. He's been doing some work. But yeah, I think, honestly, so far, aside from that eastern quarter, I guess north and northeast, it feels like most teams, when they had the option, have chosen that Monte Nuevo ending, or the field north of Monte Nuevo. So I wonder if it actually closes that way now.
And you know what? This is why I don't actually blame Faze going for a 2-2 at this point, because you are banking on it being more on the western side here. When you look towards WS's position, we call it kind of the hook that runs down just parallel of the field. And then even across to the backside of Power Grid. I mean, it would take all hard shifts now to the east to get Power Grid in because of all this inaccessible terrain. You have the hook, you have the ridge that runs around the southern side of Power Grid. At the moment, the east, again, you're banking on multiple hard shifts for it to actually go there. If you're an IGL, you're looking more towards this western side. Pozo, the back side of it, or the front side of it, whichever way you want to look at it, TSM's area, it's looking nice. Circle centralizes. Now, this becomes a little bit more interesting because generally, the hotspot for all of this is ETG's still position. Faze should regroup now. It was good of them to go in this 2-2. It's now paid off because they're central area. With that hook still in on the northern side, eventually it's going to push down and force this out. TE, Faze Clan, ETG, what's left of the Northern Lights, they're all in really good, solid positions. For TE, I don't want them to bite off more than they can chew with a 2-2 split they're holding at this point. Gustav has fallen.
Wait,
the Cora finding that one. Liquid on the rotate.
That's. I wonder if Gustav made it to the compound, because they brought in Fuzzface and Clib just prangs it. They brought in the other two. They joined, I think it was 8C and Uber over on the northern side. So Dollar Boy's got a good couple of shots and obviously landed one. Now, Liquid trying to slot in between Tornado Energy and Faze. That's quite a dangerous area to be in, obviously through the open field, so not an easy route either. Clib already taken enough damage to keep him maybe just following slightly behind Ibby there, but they should be able to cut in and take themselves up towards this kind of hillside here and maybe find a bit of respite, but it's not going to be for much. The outside of this circle is littered with teams. This gets very, very dangerous. And also, Liquid better remind themselves to not be peeking this ridgeline too much, because I see Thunder there. If he, you know, as said, picks that, helmet's gone, you're suddenly a little screwed. Tornado Energy maintaining a 2-2 as well. That's quite bold. If that got scouted, I feel as though someone could have potentially crashed it. Opted to not worry too much about it. DA, looking down here, I only see 3 of them. Did they lose a player at this point?
I think in transition at the very
start. Oh, it's a 3-1.
Sure
it's a 3-1. It's all good.
Will have been Thunder. Okay, okay. Yeah, I know it was one of the from the opposing on. Oh, must be just thinking it completely. I've been marking it down. I actually wrote down that Smash has died for some reason, but nevertheless, Diggory ready for the pull-up. And again, we've been seeing, at least on the map side, both bystanders and ends just kind of feeling each other out. Same vicinity. Both of them will eventually need to get in. All this compound area is completely outside towards the blue, so they will have to back off. Vehicles are in abundance. First target found. Rustam Marsh straight onto beam. It puts him down. No respite whatsoever. There needs to be some kind of response here, though. Yellow peeking out.
Lovely.
Actually gets a beautiful return, and the pre-fire is phenomenal. Diggory read it like a book and sits him down. That's a second one falling now for the bystanders.
He did get third-partied, sadly, Diggory. We saw how low he was. Him making that work with so little was very impressive. And we did get to see a glimpse of vintage Ents just yesterday, with Diggory clutching out. So if we get to see more of that, perfect. But this time, Maxi's going to be warded away. Just said, hey, leave us alone. We're trying our best out here. We're trying to fight this fight. We'll deal with you later. For now, Hjort is still alive, but it's mostly swarmed by the Finns. And the closing has happened. Now, this is a very common circle we're aware of, and anyone who's watched PUBG for a while, this is why we called this, you know, a really good spot for ETG, for example, or Tornado Energy. Liquid be able to slot in here. Nice for them. Faze, fully understanding the circle. Omakun have gone into the, I think it's a shack in the field. There's a little bit of playable area around it. It's not too much. But with the complementary position of Vazku and Page, not too bad. But what does DA do? What do Pink Ponies do? It looks like they're going to fight for the same ground, and that could be a bloodbath if those two get into it. Same question goes to Na'Vi, TSM, WS, and all the teams on the outskirts. Suddenly, there is not enough land.
Marco's here first, and he will be able to ward them back. There is a bit of a stalemate coming round. Na'Vi hitting from the side area onto the Sauna boys. This breach could come through. They're getting two to the walls, which is good. Orange will sit back to try and provide covering fire for the players on the Sauna boys that are inside the shacks held forward. Senya's doing what he normally does, and he'll be the range of the marksman. He's away from this fight at distance. DA have lost one player. At least he's gone down for now. So the Pink Ponies will take advantage of this one and push on it. With Code Marco falling, that's a big scalp remove from DA. They'll have to reassess the options of what's in front of them. The Sauna boys realize what's about to happen here, Lauren, with Na'Vi at the door. And Senya still lurking in the distance. Going stationary might not be the best option here.
Honestly, if Senya holds that for a couple more seconds, as long as he can, I'm sure he'll have a vehicle or a way forward. He's potentially ensuring that TSM aren't swinging south, which I like that idea. Now, DA are full sending, and there's not much to be sending to, unless they know of a divot or a ditch that could work for them. They've lost Mert on the way. This is horrible for them. There were no options left. This is what we were discussing. There simply isn't enough land, so it's either feed Team Liquid, feed ETG. It doesn't matter where they go, they're gonna be pinched. And Metralius can try and do some damage, but it's all for nothing. Down in 15th for DA, they kind of got screwed on that circle, but it's how it goes. People have to make these hard choices, like Na'Vi have had to, by crashing in towards the Sauna boys. So, Na'Vi, yes, they have a slice of position, but it's not much to play with.
Just how much information Na'Vi actually have on the locations of the players that are very close to them. Whether or not they've moved is a different question. There is one player very much at the door. Good shots initially from Nuki, and at least now has the info. Nice jump through the garages to avoid just being so stationary and open. Anonymous opens up.
Can see their backs now.
First frag in. Minor damage. TSM might have a small issue in the form of... Oh, WS has now actually come down from the mountainside. Okay, so they're in the field. So that issue is removed. That's probably why they held point for so long. No advancement over on the opposing side from the Sauna boys. They're just waiting this one out. I'm totally fine with that. Tab, if he does go down, which he shouldn't, the damage over time will be removed. How much utility do we have on the side of Na'Vi? That's the question in form of lethal utility. Windstreak have made it to the foothills of TSM as well, though. That's an interesting one. I wonder how much that will come into effect. There is shots clearly from Tornado Energy down low, which at least just makes them go quiet for all but a moment. It's all a bit of a stalemate at the moment. I can fully understand and appreciate why.
Yeah, the sort of boys, if they're aware that TSM has Overwatch, they shouldn't need to do anything. That's a nice shot from Orange, very precise towards Misa, but the trade already happened. So again, the Sauna boys still, I feel, maintain advantage, but their approach and their now next step is going to be hindered because it gets tricky to move into the circle. They'll be held back by dealing with Na'Vi. The same can be said going forward. Northern Lights trying to make a move. This is a last-ditch attempt, literally trying to find a ditch, and there ain't one there. Perfectix, and where'd you take this? Oh, that's just not great, is it? No. I'm trying to stay alive. Doesn't achieve it. 14th. So the top two teams going down exceedingly early. Keep in mind, we've lost out on DA and Northern Lights.
Ooh.
So look towards your Tornado Energies and your Liquids and look towards Na'Vi because they're about to push this. Just Misa are alive. We've had a couple of knocks coming in. He might be going for a res on Nuki. So they'll be back up to 2, but Sakura's dead. There's no recovery there. Way too far away. And with the blue now starting to creep in, step by step, they have to get in towards that circle.
Redline have been punishing here. Redline's on the western side near the blue. They can walk this one because they have plenty of time. Gustav comes in with a bullet and steals it off the ground. Sakura's body becomes his point. Pink Pony have pulled up onto Shift W. Now the bloodbath will really begin. Initial mollies go down, try and find him through the smoke, but he peaks a little bit too early. Gets a little bit hard aggro on that one, and it will not pay off. I think Killikai may have just run to his friend's, molly that went down initially, and that'll probably have been hidden by the smoke. Vampire going down the distance, it kind of helps for now and relieves a little bit of pressure. Nuki does answer back on the tab, though. Pull up coming from the side of Ents. They've gone in deep. They're not quite in the circle yet. This is a big scalp to remove in their way to the circle if they do manage to get it. It has to be clean, though. That's the bigger thing. It looks like Tixu and Squeaky have just gone off. The Sauna boys do go down. Orange finally finds that one last player. Aim low should be easily picked into a Shift W. They are. Pink Pony goes down in 12th. By hook or by crook, Ents are somehow making this work, and they still have vehicles. What damage can Quizzy do, though, on their exit?
I don't think much right now. We'll see. Again, it's Liquid who are the ones who could stop them, but Tixu's so close already. You've got Melman there. You've got a couple of others. You've got Faze wanting to get involved. Liquid might get a little too much attention from this. They probably won't want it, but they found Kemba. Now you can see Quizzy trying to do some damage from the blue. This is that last-ditch attempt, and it looks like he's going to die for it, too. He is. Down he goes. Senya finds Iroh. That's the next fight for Na'Vi and TSM battling out. Faze starting to spread out as well, starting to puff up the chest, look a little bit bigger, try and be intimidating, and they are. Gustav towards Miraku's gonna solidify that presence, show, hey, you don't get to walk past us, and Na'Vi confirms that too. Fex and Iroh down, and as soon as the fight started, TSM just got blown to smithereens. So now we've got to look at what's left. Red line south, Omicron, bit of a 2-2, but good positioning. That ridgeline, though, is rife. We've got Na'Vi, Faze, WS, Team Liquid, and Ents. That is unreal amounts of incredible teams. Now, if Liquid can keep this together, they're in a great spot. But there's so many people up there, Rich. You've got Ents still just about staying in this, but they don't have much room to play with.
Yeah, that's the thing. They can utilize the vehicles and put them down to block off certain lines of sight. But because of the ball area and the ditch that they're in, there is potential that nades can bounce off the back wall and basically just roll into them. How much lethal utility does Ents have, though? They're going to require a lot to clear Liquid out from this one. We know what Liquid's like. They'll probably get aggro on this and want to tackle it head-on rather than let them get close and personal. There is still one player in the form of Melman behind them, so maybe he can do some damage as well. Liquid begin the defensive stance. Here comes the lethal utility from the side of Ents. How much damage will it do before they advance, though? That's the question.
Oh, this is uncomfortable. Maxi, you can't elevate that high when you're prone, so Orange just had the advantage by default. Well played to Orange to maintain and realize that in just, the quickest of seconds. Now, Liquid prepare themselves for the finish push, but Klib is just so crisp, but he's now going to be overwhelmed, outnumbered. Two players going to hit the deck, trying to ensure that if they do want to peek him, they have to really commit. And they do. Diggory did commit towards it. He finds him, but now Ibby's there, wants to trade in, wants to make sure nothing goes unanswered, and they've done well at that. Now that garners Na'Vi's attention, though. They want in on this, and Orange has delivered towards Klib. That's now him down and out. Ibby and Jeems, the last two. So the classics of the Liquid roster having to do what they need to do to survive. Now, FaZe, of course, have considered pushing this, and it looks like they're starting to. Ibby finds Melman, but look at this. Na'Vi have tried to corner in Liquid, and FaZe are just looking over that ridgeline. Do we get involved? Do we not? But the fight in the southwest is starting to kick off as well. Omicron moving in towards redline here. Page had a big off angle, gets denied anything from it. That's going to be Omicron gatekeeping redline. They can't do anything about this.
Yeah, if they have any nades, they can roll them through the vehicles and maybe get them from behind. They will set the attack off first on the side of redline. With Melman going down, it makes it a little bit more easier on the side of Liquid to try and tackle this head-on. Na'Vi, for a second, did have two members here while Besto held Faze back, but now he's rejoined the ranks, and he's here to try and play. Vasco goes down. Redline, get a good nade. That'll help them out in massive amount. Shift W, with the shift, they move towards ETG, but ETG is quick on the response. Killikai, Braxico, they fall simultaneously. Mini comes out, hits the deck, waits for the one player to step out into the vision, and he should be instantly dead. Last-ditch attempt coming out of redline through the smoke. Not a lot they can do. FaZe Clan sees them, and it's easy pickings. Jempty also falls. Easy point comes back, but there is a response. That's huge from Zoka. That kind of keeps them in this for all but a moment. I know it's only one player, but one player is all they really need at this moment in time when the Flames are going to be licking just directly in front of him. Same goes for redline. And Na'Vi are indeed. We can see that one as well.
Yeah, they're looking over
it's
this
just
ridge
it's
line.
Besto getting back there. It's kind of scary.
Yep. Yeah, it is. They're just about toying with the idea of what do we do with this. Now, Zocker's still going to play this out as best he can. Not an easy one to play out either. Love the attempt. Good moves. Doesn't get anything for it. Fender's going to find them. We're down to 6 teams. Now, this is a classic Faze approach. Look at the way they're looking at this. You're going to have Uber and Fuzzface staying as almost a duo, keeping this field safe, leaving Gustav and 8Z to control the ridgeline and ensure safety going forward. I like that. Now, whether or not it pays off, because now you've got some isolated players, it gets dangerous, and Gustav didn't decide to back away or try to adjust. He stuck it out and loses to Ivus. Ivus would love to get a flush on that. Not sure if he can, but Gustav's bleeding quick. Now, as you can see, the scenario begins. Fuzzface and Uber are actually pushing towards this. T-Bone has kept his position, but you can see Fuzzface very much aware of this and quickly dealt with. The SKS perfectly fine at dealing with what's in front of them. And now we have some big dogs in this final circle. Na'Vi, Faze, Liquid, and then ETG. And ETG still have good compound. Ibi with a good shot, though, did have all those boxes of Ents to work with as well, but not much room on the circle to play with, so options are limited. Na'Vi are very much looming over Liquid. They are just sitting there, holding them completely accountable on that ridgeline. No way out of it. Now, Besto, I imagine his job, yeah, keep an eye on Liquid, but make sure that Faze do not come up behind us, because they are right behind you.
Well, that's his job. Basically just hold point. Maybe Peacock, maybe defense, maybe just vision more importantly. Flashbang could be going in here because they know that Liquid can't go anywhere. They are boxed into a corner. ETG deny them being able to run the ridgeline and go south of them and even try and wrap. There's only one entry point for Liquid and it's directly in front. So Na'Vi could either just buy their time or maybe they want to try and tackle this. If they do and they have the flashbangs, then it could be good, but they need to make sure they count. Losing one player here would be just a time for FaZe Clan to capitalize on the situation, jump into action, stab them in the back, and then pick up the points. ETG, yeah, they're coming out of their comfort zone just a little bit. They don't need to do too much at the moment because they're inside the circle, and it does keep them there, which is fantastic. So, Quepta, keep your head down, buddy. That's a fantastic bullet coming out of Fuzzface. Keeps them quiet for now, but they can play this for second place.
Yep.
There is a potential that it happens if everyone else just demolishes each other on the top side of the hill. Molly comes out from the side of Jeems, and now we have to ask, if they're committing this lethal utility, Lauren, is it the go time for Team Liquid?
I feel as though you have to use it. I know that's easier said than done. It will force the utility out of Na'Vi, which is maybe the intention, and it depends on how much they have to play with. Na'Vi don't have a lot, and they don't have the boxes of the previous bodies to pick up from. So if Liquid have done this as like, okay, let's force utility out of them, let's try and draw out what they have, those flashes, those, you know, bits and pieces, that's a really good idea, but they still now need to commit to the push, and it looks like Jeems has gone down in towards the ditch. That's actually quite important. Now, Ibi needs to hold the ridgeline, keep him safe, because if they peek over, he's dead. Jeems can only do so much. His field of view is going to be limited here. Orange flash to hand, going to capitalize. Jeems tries to catch him with the utility in hand. Besto now up to the challenge, though. Going to peek the ridge, the bush Wookie, the thick boy on the other side. Fuzzface, here they come, though. Faze sees it, they hear this, and the execution party has turned up. Fuzzface just destroyed them all. That is madness, and now they know that Liquid is weak. They were already in a fight. Keep pressing the issue, Faze. Let's get involved. 8 kills, big damage as well. Nice little underhand flash, and this is surely going to be Jeems dead. Does he give it up to the blue? Can he take it on with him? No. Fuzzface steals it away. They're actually just down to 2 standing here, so an even end circle. ETG with 2 alive, Faze with 2 alive. I'm sure they can get Fuzzface back on his feet, but this is getting a bit scary now.
So ETG has indeed opted to play the compound. That's what we expected. Give them a second placement. Easy points, job done. Circle will update. For FaZe, they need to be quick and get to the ridgeline as soon as possible because ETG will have the more harder cover. Yeah, I'm surprised they've not actually gone to the foothill, to be honest with you. While FaZe have got one player down, they know they can go for the, the actual res themselves. With Quepta pushing out, that's good. Thunderloss could actually be a distraction here. Maybe Quepta can get up behind them, but this is going to be easier said than done, Lauren. This is FaZe. They need every point they can possibly get.
Okay, if ETG want to play the circle, Thunder needs to just keep their attention as long as he can and survive as long as he can, right? The circle, most polar close position, will be on ETG's side. Now they had that cross in, but FaZe have the ridgeline to play with. So we need to see how this plays out. Quepton could be instrumental in ETG doing well in this, and the timing could not have been better. He used that moment while they're getting Fuzzface back on their feet to, ensure victory. And it looks like Fender's probably dead here, I've got to say, considering the blue is right on his back. Meds are looking at an all-time low. But again, Quepta, if he can do something believable if they maybe make a small mistake, but it's Faze. They don't make small mistakes. And I think 8C's even got a good idea. This could be already happening. I'm seeing those proactive Molotovs. I'm seeing this consideration of it. It looks like Faze has the full image. And yeah, Quepta's just giving away the game. Didn't need to take those shots right there, right now. And now with his death, it looks like it's all but Faze's. And there's no other way to do it. Faze in their home turf. The